fact that we would speak about the preservation of the Quran. I don't know if everybody's aware, but Jay has been extremely busy, so I'm very grateful for him to speak to me today. And what has happened basically within the last 2 weeks to a month within Islamic academia as a result of 2 statements or interviews that have been given by 2 top Muslim scholars and apologists. So I'm going to allow Jay, because my pronunciation is awful, to basically walk us through baby steps. And I'm going to ask there is no such thing as a stupid question, but I'll be there with them anyway. So Jay, over to you.
Well, thanks, Kay. And listen, one of my best friends is right here. He doesn't know what's happened. He's just watching. So I'm going to explain it to him, and I'm going to explain to all of you who are watching there on the internet. So let me just explain, especially in the last 3 weeks. So we're talking from May 19th. On the 19th of May, one of the world's leading scholars, Dr. Shabir Ali, considered to be by most probably their best debater. A good friend of mine, we've debated 6 times in the past. So we know each other well. The last time we debated was in 2014. Made a video for Ramadan, or during Ramadan, which he does every year at Ramadan. And on that video, it's just not a very long video, he made the statement that, yes, we do have a problem with the preservation of the Quran. There are differences in the Arabic Quran. Now, immediately you can see this is going to cause problems and ripples all over the Muslim world, because you don't make that kind of statement. But he lives in Toronto. He is a Westerner. He has his doctorate from Toronto University, and he is talking as an academic. As an academic, this is nothing new. This is not surprising. But to get on YouTube and make this kind of pronouncement was surprising. Now, what he did do, he quickly backed that up by saying, however, all of these differences, these qira'at are the readings. When you look at an Arabic phrase, if you look at it in Arabic, there's just the skeletal text. You have, I don't want to say 28, because no, you have about 22 letters that require dots. And every one of those dots above and below the line, there are 3 dots above, 2 dots below. If you have 1 dot above, it's a na. 2 dots above, it's a ta. 3 dots above, it's a tha. 1 dot below, it's a ba. 2 dots below, it's a ya. Can you see? If you don't have the dots, you could be 5 different letters. You don't know what you're looking at. So they had to put the dots in there. But those dots were only introduced into the Arabic around the early 8th century, late 8th century. Were only canonized really the late 8th century, early 9th century. Remember, the Quran supposedly was created in the mid 7th century. So we're talking about 100 to 200 years later, they finally were able to read what they were looking at. So these, because the dots could be put in so many different fashions, there were many students and there were teachers, and there were 10 major teachers called readers who had each of them 2 narrators. So we're talking about 30 different individuals who then put these dots in different variations, and each one of their final corpuses was known as a qira'at, a whole derivation. Now, our good colleague, Kay, you know her, I know her really well, Hatun Tash has gone around the world and has collected 37, not even the 30, but 37. She's found another 7. We probably will find even more. Some say there may be as many as 95 out there. But certainly, she has 37 there in London that she has been able to collect. When she has just looked at 23 of them, now she's not doing this. She doesn't speak Arabic. She doesn't read Arabic. She has an entire team of Arabists all over the world who are helping her out. They don't want to go public. They won't put their face on the camera. Hatun does, because she owns these books. She owns these Arabic derivations. And looking at 23 of them, they have been able to find 93,000 differences.
Wow.
Can you see the dilemma? So when Shabir Ali said this on May 19th, that yes, he had to admit to it, because this has now been discovered. This has been known for 1,000 years. This is nothing new. The academics have known this for 1,000 years. The scholars of Islam have always known this. They've known this since the 10th century. We're in the 21st century now. So this should not be a surprise to Muslims. But that's academia. I mean, you've heard this before, haven't you, Kay?
Yeah.
Okay, and you heard it from us. So that was on the May 19th. But what he did, and this is what he was very careful of, he said, when you look at all these, now he only said a few. There are only a few of them, is what he kept on saying. Well, there's not just a few. 93,000 is not a few. Mm-hmm. But what he did say is that none of these changes, these dots above and below the line, or the vowels, the dhamma, the kasra, the dhamma is the u sound, the kasra is the e sound, the fatha is the a sound. There's only 3 vowels. E. Any of those vowel sounds change the word as well. But he said none of these, the dots or the vowels, change any doctrine, change any belief, change any practice. Those are the 3 things. He kept reminding the audience. So what? So there's difference. But they all say the same thing. Nothing has been changed. Well, then I got on the really got up there and really confronted him on this. And I just gave 7 examples of where they do change the meaning. They do change the word. And in case one of them, chapter 98, verse 3, they changed the theology. Now, that was 2 weeks ago. Last week, then, was where everything got blown over. Because this very problem we introduced in 2016 when I was there at Speaker's Corner with Hatun. Hatun and I, at that time, Hatun only had 26 of these Qurans.
Only.
And she held them up. You've seen the video. You've seen the video as well. 26 we held up. Huge outcry by the Muslims that were there. One of those who was in the crowd was named Muhammad Hijab. Muhammad Hijab, since then, has become a celebrity in YouTube. He has a following of 227,000 that get his YouTubes every day, his videos every day. Subscribers, that's a huge number. He is a kingpin. He's at Speaker's Corner almost every Sunday. I was engaging with him for the last 3 years that I was there. He and I have had debates. In fact, when he and I debate, he can just stand on the ground, and he's 6'8", so his head's right next to mine, and I'm on the ladder. Nonetheless, he was in this crowd when we introduced those 26 videos. And I just put this up last week. You'll see them go up on Fander Films. You'll see that video I put up again. Already 50,000 people have watched it since just last week. Because this happened 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Come 4 years on to last week, to June 8th. June 8th, he asked Yasser Qadhi. So who is Yasser Qadhi? Dr. Yasser Qadhi, or Sheikh Yasser Qadhi, is probably considered here in America to be and most people would agree with this, that he is the most respected academic, Muslim academic living in the United States. He lives in Houston. He has his PhD from Yale University. And that was done 25 years ago. And he is all over the internet. He has his own channel. I think he has 336,000 subscribers on his own channel. So this is no floozy, but he is not a populist like Muhammad Hijab. We're talking about 2 different kinds of Muslims. Yasser Qadhi represents the academic side. So does Shabir Ali. On this side, the populists, these are the Muhammad Hijabs, these are the Adnan Rashids, these are the Mansour Ahmads, these are the Ahmad Didats, these are the Zakir Naiks. These are all the big names over here who have hundreds of thousands, millions of followers all over the world. They are the populist side of Islam. They represent 1.8 billion Muslims. On this side, the academics are all here in the United States. Yasser Qadhi is in Houston. Shabir Ali is in Toronto. Well, it's not the United States, but North America. And they represent, I would suggest, just 1% of all Muslims. They're here for a reason, and they cannot say what they say outside. Well, they can, they do, and they are on the internet. They are loved in places like Europe, and they're loved in places like Australia and United States, and in many parts of Asia, but they're not loved necessarily in the Muslim world, because what they're saying is undermining what the guys and gals on this side are saying. And that's what happened last Monday. Last Monday, Muhammad Hijab, speaking for the populace, the orthodoxy of Islam, the radical, I would say, foundation of Islam on this side, was having an interview, an hour and 45-minute interview to this man on this side. Yeah. And most of the interview was a tussle back and forth. Now, most of you haven't seen that interview. Don't worry about it, because it's not really important until you get to 1 hour and 20 minutes. When you get to 1 hour and 21 minutes, everything blows open. Because he then turns to Yasser Qadhi, and he says to Yasser Qadhi, what happened to you in Yale? What was this crisis you went through in Yale 25 years ago? Now, Yasser Qadhi did not want to talk about it. You can go up and see. He was trying to say, this is nothing for us. How can I answer this in a 20 minutes interview? How can I talk? In fact, he said, earlier he had talked about, because this had been made public a number of weeks ago by one of, I think Hijab, I'm getting from what they said in the interview, one of his group there in London. They had gone public. And remember, Muhammad Hijab has lots of converts, and these converts all tend to be Europeans, and these convert Europeans are very radical, so radical that they are asking the very same questions which are normal to ask when you're a new convert. And he did not want them to be asking this. And he kept on saying, this is not something you should do in the open. This is not something that anybody who doesn't know much about Islam should be asking. This is for us, the ulama, to discuss. And we have been discussing this for 1,000 years. Al-Jazari, he referred to Al-Jazari. You remember, Al-Jazari died in 1429. We're talking about the 15th century that he died. He spent 30 years on just this question of Qira'at, and nobody really respects him for what he came out. He's written 90 books on this in the 15th century, and even today, people don't respect what he has said. So how can I, basically what Yasir Qadhi was saying, how can I come up in 20 minutes and answer this question? I can't answer this question. Yes, it was a crisis for me. So Hijab said, well, how do you resolve that crisis? He said, well, I just fell back on everything I had known. I just knew that the Quran is the word of God. And it was amazing to hear him say this. He just kind of went into a mantra. You know what a mantra is? It's just something you memorize. It's your little high.
Neuro-linguistic programming. It's just a comfort phrase that can lull your, I think he was feeling stressed at that point because he was definitely on the spot. I would imagine that
he did not want to talk about this, not on camera, and he did not want to talk about a crisis he had 25 years ago that he still can't answer 25 years later. 25 years later, and he cannot answer a simple question. What about these qira'at? What about these different readings? How are you going to do it? So finally, Muhammad Hijab puts his hand down and says, here's a blank piece of paper. What are you going to write on this paper? Tell me, which one? Is it going to be the same Quran? Is it going to be the same Quran as back there at the time of Uthman? Is it going to be the Hafs? Is it going to be the Warsh? Is it going to be the Al-Duri? Which one are you going to write? He wouldn't answer. God, he could not answer. And I'm sitting there saying, I can't believe what I'm watching. It's right there. Everybody's seeing this. Finally, Yasir Qadhi says, listen, this is the most difficult question that any Muslim scholar can answer. That's why I had this crisis back there. How did he solve that crisis? The Quran is the word of God. The Quran is perfect. The Quran has never changed. This mantra, almost basically, you can see the cognitive dissonance as he was just going into this mantra. And I'm just sitting there saying, I can't believe he's showing us how they answered it. For 1,000 years, this is how they answered it. They didn't. They never answered it. All they could do was fall back onto this mantra, which they had memorized. And they had been passing down from generation to generation for now 1,000 years. This
the
is the
red
same
line. That's it, a line that they won't
cross.
cross.
Talk about the red line. Oh, I love that. You picked that up, didn't you, Kate? Yeah. So he says, we have a red line in Islam, which we don't go beyond. We do not go beyond this red line. But the Western academics, they don't have a red line. They can ask any question they want. And that's what caused the crisis back there 25 years ago when he was at Yale University. And then he turned to Hijab and says, you in the East, and now he's talking about the West versus the East. Did you notice he made that distinction? You in the East over here, you in the East, you don't have to worry about these type of questions. We in the West have to worry about these kind of questions because we cannot walk away from this because we have colleagues who do not stop at that red line. We Muslims, we stop at that red line. We don't ask these type of questions. And I'm sitting there and thinking, my goodness, as a Christian, can you imagine us having a red line like that?
Well, are there any your salvation with fear and trembling? It doesn't say anything about a red line.
There's nothing. There's no question that you can't ask. In fact, we are the ones that encourage asking. Why do you think we have historical criticism today? Historical criticism was created on the Bible. Biblical criticism is what created historical criticism. Redacted criticism, source criticism, all these criticisms came out of the biblical criticism that started in the 1800s. It was Christians that asked it. Wellhausen, look at them. They were all Christians. Islam has never asked these questions. And we were watching this happen just a week ago. This is what was fascinating as I watched this. These 25 minutes that he was interviewing him. Finally, Hijab was frustrated. You can see he was frustrated. He says, I'm going to ask you again. Here is this blank piece of paper. Tell me what you're going to write on that blank piece of paper. Which of these qira'at? Because we have been saying since time immemorial for 1,400 years, there's only one Quran. And the Quran does not change. It is preserved because the Quran makes that claim in chapter 15, verse 9 of the Quran. The Quran makes the claim that it's eternal in chapter 85, verse 22. It's in the Quran itself. They have to obey what the Quran says. You can't criticize this because the Quran itself makes this claim. So I'm giving the piece of paper to you again. What are you going to write on that piece of paper? Yasir Qadhi finally admitted after 25 minutes, every one of them is correct. All 37 of them are correct.
But not unique. So
and you can almost see the air just fall away from his shoulders. Finally, he had been forced to say what he did not want to say, which means there is no one Quran. Exactly. There is no unique Quran. What an admission 1 week ago. Now, because of this, this is what was lovely. This went immediately up onto Al-Qadhi's site. It went immediately up onto Hijab. Muhammad Hijab's site. So both Qadhi and
after
Hijab.
After editing, I would say. actually.
They went up and they put the whole 1 hour and 45 minutes up onto both their sites. They stayed up there. We were notified about this. I was found out about it on Tuesday. By that time, Islam Critique already have 3 minutes of it. Just he only put up 3 minutes of it. He was the first to put his up. David Wood quickly had an interview with Tony Costa on it for 2 hours. I was asked quickly, Jake, you need to be the response. So what I did is I took that 25 minutes where all the damage was done, and I did one snippet after another. I said, here's his claim, and then I unpacked it. Here's his claim, and then I unpacked it. Here's his claim, then I went and unpacked it. And I put that up there on Tuesday morning, or I think Tuesday morning or maybe Wednesday morning. So it's only been up there 4 days. Already, I just want to see, let's just go look and see how many people have watched it just in 4 days. I'm just going to look up over here. Already, 16,000 people have watched that.
Wow.
Just in 4 days. That's a new record for me. 6 minutes long. I've just gone and unpacked each thing he said. Now, because of that, that got all to all the Muslim quarters. And what was fascinating is what then happened on Saturday, yesterday. Yesterday, Al-Fadi, myself, and Hatun. See, the Hatun is one that blew this all open back in 2016. We wanted her especially just to honor her and say, listen, look what you have done. Look what you have created. This is terrific. I mean, you give credit to Hatun. She is the one that saw the problems. She was the one that had the tenacity. She was the one that went and collected all these Qurans. She was the one that went public with them. She was the one that would go from mosque to mosque to mosque. She's been in 400 mosques now, taking these Qurans with her and just showing them to the imams. Some of whom have now left Islam and come to Christ because of this material.
Oh,
this is called polemics. I can't say any more than that. I'm not permitted to say any more than that because I can't tell you who they are, because they will be harassed and killed by Muslims if they find out. But this was done in 2016. We're 4 years later. Now what has happened? While we were online yesterday, we were only on for 1 hour unpacking this, the three of us. While that was happening, we were told that Muhammad Hijab had now censored that 25 minutes out of his I couldn't believe it.
I'm sure it's a coincidence.
Yeah. Go up to Muhammad Hijab's site, just write in YouTube Muhammad Hijab, right. Look and see what he's done. He has censored it. Yes. He has taken out the last 29 minutes. Just stopped it there before this question was asked.
Yeah.
You can't do that today in the 21st century. Don't people realize that that's admitting fault? But he is getting such a backlash against it, and all from people on the right. He has kept his up there.
He's not averse, though, as we know from Christian Prince, etc., to just a little bit of manipulation of videos and audio. So I think it shows. Hey,
this is when everybody's talking about it, when you have hundreds of thousands of people who are referring to it, to actually do something at that stage, to almost a week later or 5 days later. But Yasser Qadhi is over here. Remember, I'm talking about the two different camps. The populace, how do they deal with this kind of criticism? Well, they either kill you, or they harass you, or they burn the material, or, as you saw in Cairo in 1924, they sink it into the Nile. Now, in the 21st century, they just censor it. Can you see? Whenever Muslims on this side, this is the populist side, this is the majority of Muslims, whenever they come up against something against their Quran, they try to shut you down.
Yeah.
And that's what this side has done for 1400 years. Yasser Qadhi doesn't live in that world. He lives in our world. He has been brought up here in Houston. He has been brought up on the Western traditions and of academia. He is an academic. That's why he struggled so much last Monday. I felt sorry for him, but bless his honesty. He has yet to censor that. He is getting hammered. So what happened? On Friday, Adnan Rashid. Now, you all know who Adnan Rashid is. He's a good friend of mine. I've debated him 4 times, many times there at Speaker's Corner. Kay, you have tackled with him in the last few weeks. You know him personally. You know that he is from Pakistan. He is also a big player. I don't know how many tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands he has on his YouTube site, but he's one of the biggest ones out there. He decided to do an interview with Hussein. They did an interview, I think it was Friday. And on that interview, bless Adnan Rashid, he just threw Qadhi under the bus, Yeah. And he didn't get upset with hijab. He got upset with Qadhi. Why did Qadhi mention these things? Why did Qadhi just not simply hold out the Birmingham folios? that were
Well,
discovered
a
in
couple of
2000.
questions about Adnan's video. I'm going to insert them, and then you can come along to them. One of them, he asserts that both the ink and the parchment or paper was carbon dated. I'd like your thoughts on that because we've discussed that
Yeah,
privately.
there are so many mistakes he made in just those few minutes. He mentioned that the Birmingham folios prove. He said, why didn't he just show this? Because there's no Qur'an. See, Qur'an are only the dots added and the vowelization. That's done in the 8th and 9th century. So the Qur'an is not the most damaging material. This is not even that damaging. When Qadi said this is the most difficult question they've had, no, it's not, Qadi. Wait till you see what we're going to throw at you. This is all from the 8th, 9th, and 10th century, way over here. I don't care about that. I want to know what's happened in the 7th century. I want to know what's happened in the very beginning. I want to know what happened at the time of Uthman in 652. I want to know where that Uthmanic recension is that you're always talking about. Where's the original Quran? And that's what Adnan tried to say. Adnan tried to bring that in. Do you notice? What is the Quran that he claimed was the Uthmanic Quran? The Husayni Quran in Cairo.
Right.
What an idiot.
Wow.
Claiming that, and did you notice what he claimed? He said it was from the original, but then he quickly qualified himself. No, it's from the 1st century AH. That means up to 719. Yeah. That this is before 719. Who in the world would ever accept that? 719? Nobody considers this to be even an 8th century Quran. It may be a late 8th century, but many people put this to the 9th century. What's more, it does not belong to the 63, that Islamic Awareness website that he claimed where it's been housed. He said it's in the Islamic Awareness website. Go up on the Islamic Awareness website and see if it's part of the 63 fragments that they have listed there. Not at all. Mm-hmm. And then he claimed that it's 99% finished. Only the Fatiha and parts of Surah al-Baqarah are missing, which is the 1 and 2. Yeah. Fascinating. Making mistake after mistake after mistake, and saying that radiocarbon dating not only dates the parchment, it also dates the ink. Nobody in their right mind would make that kind of statement. Obviously, he doesn't know what he's talking about. So he's made it even better. But see, he's done us a favor, Kate. And I'm not going to say too much more about that because it's all going to be unpacked tomorrow. I'm unpacking that with Hatun, and we need to unpack that tomorrow when we're going to go and look at the Birmingham folio. We're going to look at the Husayni manuscript from Egypt. We've been studying these manuscripts for years now. Listen, I was the one that first brought this up to Shabir Ali's attention back in 2014. So for 6 years, we have been studying it. We know exactly what they contain. We know what verses they contain. We know what's missing. We know what's not missing. We know also the dates for these manuscripts. That we're going to introduce tomorrow, not today, tomorrow. Yeah. I know you want me to say something about it, but I have to be careful
no, it's nothing technical. It's you mentioned to me before that he's misdescribing it as something like the language he uses about the Birmingham stuff, as it were, is it makes it sound a lot more than it is, when in actual fact it's not very much, and it's far less than the biblical manuscripts that we were able to access without Uthman's intervention or any like accidental fire.
I'll just say this much, okay, right now. The Birmingham Folios is just 2 pages front and back. It's parts of 6 in 020. That's it. Yeah. It's not a whole manuscript. It's just a few. What's more, nothing on it is about Islam. All of it is about Moses. It's about the 7 sleepers of Ephesus. And if you look at these stories have nothing to do with Islam. These are pre-Islamic stories. Right. What's more, the dates are 568 to 645. When was the Quran finally canonized under Uthman? In 652. So even if you go with the latest date, the last date, it's 7 years before the Quran was even finally canonized, finally written down. Yeah. So how could it be the original Quran? Secondly, on top of that, carbon dating is so inexact. The fact that they have to put from 568 to 645, that's almost 100 years wingspan, proves that this is a very inexact science. Thirdly, what you notice, and this is what you brought up, when you talk about radiocarbon dating, you can only look at when the animal died. So the parchment may have been created at that time. Let's say 645. They're going to go with the latest date, obviously. Let's just say it was created 645. When was it written on? That could be decades later. That could be many years later. What's interesting is you cannot date the ink because the ink is amalgamation of many different pigments that come from many parts of the world, that come from many ages.
Only date one.
Nobody ever dates the ink. You can only date the parchment. Now, so Adnan made enormous mistakes, but it's what he has done us a favor, and this is what I want to talk about. in this whole thing, everything has been Qur'at, which is way back in the 8th and 9th century. I don't want to talk about the Qur'at. I would rather they talk about the manuscripts. So who has done us a favor by now pushing us into the manuscripts but Adnan Rashid? Which means now, this week, we're going on the offensive. Remember, Kay, I said always, 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 the best defense is a good offense. Always put them on the defense. Notice nobody's talking about Bible manuscripts. Nobody's talking about the historicity of Jesus. None of this. It's all against Islam, and it's all against the Quran. The one thing the Muslims don't want us to talk about is this. So let's go back to Shabbat Ali. We forgot about him, right?
Yes.
What happened? A week ago, he put a video up an hour and a half trying to confront me on the Qur'an. That I haven't even answered. That I'm going to be doing on Tuesday with Al-Fadi. I'm going to let Al-Fadi answer that because he is a native Arab. He is a Saudi Arabian who speaks the same dialect as Muhammad would have spoken from the Hijaz. So he, by far, is the best in the world in this, doing a doctorate. His PhD is on the Sana'a manuscript. Now, he is soon to be the world authority on this. So who better to speak than let him speak? Because who am I? I'm a white American. We're the worst of the worst. So I'm not going to open my mouth on this. I'm going to let Al-Fadi talk about this on Tuesday. But we're going to go beyond that because now, today, as we speak, in fact, just about 2.5 hours ago, Shabbat Ali has now put out another video against me. Both these videos are against me. Why is he so interested in attacking me? Take a look at what he's saying today. I have not yet been given it. It's not sent to me yet. What he said yesterday, I'm going to put out a video to confront Jay with the debate we had in 2014. I can't believe it. This is 6 years later. He's now putting another video today of what happened 6 years ago without even realizing we're not even using that material from 6 years ago. So that we're going to confront on Tuesday. And I'll probably do a whole nother video on Wednesday just answering that because he has no idea how much further we have got. We only thought we had 800 variants, manuscript variants in 2014. We're over 4,000 of those manuscript variants. This is the book we introduced last year. A new book is coming out just this month from Daniel Brubaker.
Yes.
We're going to introduce a whole new set of variants. And see what Shabbat Ali doesn't realize, he has helped us to get the discussion away from the Qur'an back to the 7th century, back now to the manuscripts, which is what we've been waiting for them to do, because that is the material Qadi has not answered. That is the material Yasser Qadi has not looked at. When he thinks that the Qur'an is the most difficult question, wait till he finds out what we're going to introduce this week. Now, that's going to be on Tuesday and Wednesday. What's happening on Friday? On Friday, then David Wood is having me on his site. We're going to go up on his channel, Act 17 Apologetics. He has I think he has 468,000 subscribers, by far the largest in the world. No one has that large a following. He is by far our biggest. No one even comes close to him. He and I are going to unpack everything that's happened in the last 2 weeks. So we're going to look at the Qur'an. We're going to look at the Ahruf. We're going to be looking at the Razm. The Razm is the one I want to get to. The Razm is what Dan Brubaker's. This is the mother lode. This is where the rubber hits the road. This is what's going to destroy the Quran. Because these are the earliest manuscripts. This has nothing to do with dots. This has nothing to do with vowels. This has to do with the skeletal text. And the skeletal text does not at all jive with the Quran. And that's why we need to thank God for Adnan Rashid, thank God for Yasser Qadi, thank God for Muhammad Hijab, thank God for Shabbat Ali. All these guys have done us a favor. They have basically opened up a huge crack in Islam. And that's why I've never seen numbers like this on my internet. I've never seen numbers on Fandor Films that I'm getting today. I'm just breaking records, right, left, and center, because everybody wants to hear this. Yes. Listen, we didn't even open this up. We didn't even introduce this. This was all introduced by Shabbat Ali and Muhammad Hijab. Two different men from two different corridors. Over on this side, Muhammad Hijab, Adnan Rashid, Mansour Ahmed, all of them on this side. On this side, you have two scholars who are fighting for their lives, not their physical lives. I'm talking about for their careers.
Please, God, it doesn't come to that. Yeah.
No, I think it's fighting for their career, because this is going to be horrendous for Yasser Qadi from here on out. How many mosques is he going to be invited to? I don't know. I can't say. How many mosques is Shabbat Ali going to be invited to? I don't know. I can't say. I feel sorry for these two men, because the red line has now been breached. That red line that Yasser Qadi says we cannot go beyond, we have gone beyond. And we have done it in a big way since June 8th. Now we're in June 14th. We're going to see what happens. Pray for us. This is going to be an amazing week. We're going to be taking every one of these claims, and we're going to keep our eye to the grindstone, because there are going to be many more videos put up there. attacking us, confronting us, trying to, because we've got now, I think we really do have Islam in a corner. I've never seen it this easy for me. I've never seen it this exciting. I've never seen this many admissions, and I've never seen Muslims starting to censor themselves. Since when do you censor in an interview of 25 minutes midway through the week? Why do you do that? Unless, of course, you don't have answers. This is going to cause huge disillusionment.
I've got a
And
question.
you notice,
Sorry.
okay, let me finish. You notice what this is all. This is all to do with polemics. Have you noticed everything we're doing in these 2 weeks is polemics? How many Christians have you heard saying polemics don't work? How many Christians have you heard saying, why are you wasting your time on polemics? This is not Christ-like. This is exactly what Christ did.
It is biblical.
Temple.
Sure.
This is what Paul did in Laodicea, Cappadocia, Berea, there in Ephesus. This is exactly what he did in Mars Hill. This is exactly what he did in the lecture hall of Tyrannus for 2 years in Acts 19. We're doing the same thing Paul did. We're doing the same thing Jesus Christ did. And now what they did in the first century, we're doing in the 21st century. That's why we're just following in the steps. And the people that are really taking this to the Muslims are David Wood, Sam Shamoon, myself, Islam Critiqued. I can't give you his name. Mel from Sneakers Corner, Hatun Tosh from DCCI, Al Fadi from Sira International. We are the ones that are really taking and confronting Islam head on. And everything we're doing is going back to the very beginning. We're going back to the 7th century. We're not wasting our time in the 8th and 9th century anymore. We're going back to the 7th century, the very beginning. And we're asking the questions that these Muslims should have been asking for 1,400 years and refuse to do so. Then this is going to be exciting. Stay with us. We'll see what happens in the next week.
Excellent. My last, I guess it's just a point actually, Ron. So I picked up a lot that Qadi kept repeating that the regular Muslim just needs to know this, which in and of itself is an admission that there are withheld pieces of information. The other thing I want
to said 2 or 3 times, this is not for the regular Muslim. They do not need to know this. This is for the scholars only. And if you want to understand it, don't ask me here. I can't answer in 20 minutes. Take my class. Take my class. How many times do you say take my class? In other words, you're going to have to come to my quarters in behind closed doors where no one else is listening. And I'm going to teach you what that red line is, and you're not to go beyond. Because if he can't even answer that in a 25-minute
25 years as well. It's not like he's an unintelligent man. My other reflection.
Why would you want to take his class if he can't even answer in front of the camera? So what's the purpose of taking his class?
Yeah.
To me, that is a poor type of advertisement. In fact, that's a known goal. He's just basically shut himself. If you want people to take your class, answer the question so they know that you do have an answer for it. I don't want to take his class if he doesn't have, if he has no answer for it.
The last thing, I guess, my reflection is that I think potentially this, the fact that prior to 2016, I genuinely believed that the regular Muslim who Qadi was speaking of really genuinely believed there was only one Quran. It was an exact replica everywhere. I guess I would say this is potentially one of the biggest hoaxes of all time. Like, I don't know of another centuries old basically lie or inadmission or a withholding of the truth that has been so readily believed. And whilst it appears to have been scrutinized, in fact, the Islamic scholarship and academia have actually just been coming up to a point and saying no further. Like, whereas we know that
I don't think 2016 had much to do with it. I think everything has blown open in the last week. 2016, if you go up on my Founder Films, look and see how many people watched that video that we put up in 2016. 5,000, 6,000 at the most. Yeah. How many people have watched when I redid it? I put the video right up again last week. Let's see how many have watched it.
Because
47,000.
Because now there's an admission.
In the last 2 weeks. In the last 2 weeks, 47,000 people have watched the video that hardly anybody watched from 2016 for 4 years. In 4 years, only 6,000 watched. In 2 weeks, 47,000. The exact same video. Yeah. Why is it suddenly interesting now, important now? It's because of what happened last week.
Exactly. Because of that admission that you were, in fact, correct in the first place. So I've watched countless videos with Hatun challenging specific Muslims. Can you just read this? Can you just read this? Clearly, they're not the same. The pronunciation is different.
1,000 people, 2,000 people have watched.
And their appeal to authority, that fallacy of, well, you know, this person says this, and therefore it is true, and particularly Muhammad, it just doesn't work, as you say, because Qadi is a part of normal academia, not theological academia only. So whereas in the West, obviously you're encouraged to ask questions, even if you can't find an answer to them. You must sincerely and genuinely look at the problem that's presented, even if it's not from your fellow.
Hey, welcome to Judeo-Christian and Christian world. We are the ones from the very beginning have always said, please attack our Bible, attack the Lord Jesus Christ. We have never, ever claimed that anybody will be killed or harassed. We don't censor anybody.
Yeah.
For 2,000 years, Jesus has been attacked, especially in the last 200 years. We do not kill people who attack Jesus. We do not put them in prison for if they attack our Bible. We encourage them to do so. And the reason why we encourage them to do so, because we do not have a red line. There's nothing in the Bible says that the Bible says that you must kill somebody for what they say. Yet all over the Muslim world, there are two laws that you must not pass. There are two things that you must not say. It is a capital offense if you confront the Quran and if you confront Muhammad. Am I correct? It's called the 295C law.
Yeah.
It's in every Muslim country. It has now been passed. It is being used now in Pakistan. Those are the two things you can't confront. What are the two things we're confronting right now here in the West? One book and one man, the book and the man, the book and the man. The things that I've been saying for almost 40 years. We've got to get our focus on the book and the man. Confront the book and model by the man. If you confront the Quran and you confront Muhammad, you destroyed Islam. What do you think we're now doing? And you see why this is causing such a furore in Muslim circles in just 1 week? Because there is no response when we're asking something as simple as the Qur'an. That is not the most difficult question. What we're going to induce this week is much more difficult than what they were inducing last week. So this is the beauty of Christianity. And Yasser Qadhi is living in our world. He's living in the Western world, where that is the tradition that all our universities have dealt with and have been working with. That you have to answer that good question. Every religion has to go through that test. Every religious book has to go through that test. Every religious man who claims to be a historical figure has to go through the historical test. Jesus is the only one that's passed it. The Bible is the only one that's come through it. Only Jesus and the Bible have passed every test. Further, finally, we're asking that same questions of the Quran and Muhammad. And can you see how they are screaming and hollering? I would suggest that this may be the beginning of the crack of Islam starting to open. And I don't think we're just going to have a few. I think we're going to have thousands, maybe even millions who will finally live Islam over this one question. Let's see. Mark my words. June 14th, 2020. Let's see what happens even the next year.
Brilliant. What I would say is the reason that we invite criticism and criticize ourselves, as in textual criticism, is because we have the truth. I would just put it as simply as that. The truth cannot be diluted or weakened by examination. It can only become more true. That's not a linguistic.
Hammer it as much as you want. You will always remain the truth. Thank you so much. God bless you.
And we destroy all false arguments and lofty opinions that set themselves up against the knowledge of the true God. So that is biblical. That is a justification for polemics. Nobody wants to, you haven't
finished the verse. Continue the rest of the verse.
Oh,
and we take every argument and make it obedient to Jesus Christ. We've got to bring them. We've got to bring them home to Jesus.
Yes.